Hello,
Hello. Welcome to Philosophising. My name is Ruby,
and I'm Nathan.
and we're here to talk about relationships today. Although,
Oh, also,
actually,
you
Nate,
still have
the
your onion
title.
tag, Ruby.
Oh, my name tag that says I'm an onion.
Yeah. Oh, you shouldn't. Well, okay, you shouldn't have gotten like one of the ones that says I'm single because that would be incorrect, and Jason would
I
be
know.
confused. But it would also be thematically correct, I would assume.
For context, we just came out of a social that
Mhm.
the theme was
Wait,
onions versus cake.
was this
Um,
supposed to be like a dating event? Is that why they were giving people stickers with their like relationship status on it?
no,
Or
no, it was just to I think that was the vote. Like we were voting with the
I see.
stickers.
Yeah, like whether
And
you like onions more
yeah,
or
onions more or cake, and specifically ice cream cake. And so that was the theme of all the food as well. And yeah, anyway, it was our Friday social, summer
yeah.
social.
I wish that
Obviously,
the
I chose
onions
onion.
were more represented there. Like I feel like I was hoping for onion rings, but oh
Me
well.
too. I was really
Mm.
hoping for onion rings.
And there were onion rings there, but you couldn't eat them. Um,
Really? I didn't see
yeah,
any
because
onion
they were
rings.
no, they were being used for some sort of game.
Oh
Um,
yeah, the ring toss or some kind of
yeah, it was like,
bowling
can I
situation.
eat these onion rings?
Anyway, it was a fun social.
Yeah, it was fun.
And uh Hey, Nate, actually, it still says squids and other aliens. As
Oh, and where?
yeah, Rib IB says onion ring
Onion
toss.
ring toss. Yeah, where does
Yeah,
it
they
say
had
squids?
on our restream title.
Oh, it says how to flirt on my restream title.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So maybe it just didn't
maybe
update.
it's just like
Uh,
not updating. Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, they just had an onion themed party basically,
I don't
and
know. This is not the topic of the stream, but like, I guess we were just talking. I forget why we were talking about it.
okay, the point of the stream is relationships, and I wanted to start with my favorite. I guess like, is it even? It's kind of math. It's math. There's a proof and everything. So like the maths
So it's
equation.
math.
Yeah, yeah. So in 1962, Gale and Shapley, who are these economists, wrote a paper or published a paper about the theorem, and the question that they answered was if it was possible to make stable matches, and they called it. Oh, I should have pulled the original paper, but it was like college admissions and like students basically, and a really good analogy or a really good way to describe how it works is by just talking about like like a like a matchmaker matching all the men and women in the town. And the idea is that if you had a town with a whole bunch of unmarried men and women, is there a way to match them so such that none of the after you match them, they will stay married and are less likely to run away with each other, like run away with different combinations of each
This
other.
town sounds a bit like a dystopia, but okay. Uh, like, is this like a Stepford Wives type situation, or like is the solution brain surgery? Like, is that where this is going?
It's like a hypothetical, like, is it
Okay.
possible to make, like, matches where, um, like, people either couldn't, like, if they stayed in the town, they were stuck, like, in this, like, hypothetical situation.
This is
Um,
basically the plot of the Stepford Wives. I'm just saying, but
oh, is
like,
it? Okay.
continue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a mathematician's concept of romance is a stable match, which doesn't actually
Uh-huh.
mean that they're happy. It just
Mhm.
means that no one no pair, like no two people of like from different pairs are willing to leave their match and like make a new match. And so
Makes sense. Yeah.
that would make it unstable. So that was the prompt they went for, and this like algorithm has gone on to be used to match organs with humans that need organs. It's gone to match doctors to the hospitals when they come out of resident or when they go to residency, and it's also used to match like high school students to like internships. Like it's used a lot when
Mhm.
are really limited number of resources and it's really important to like fill as many spots as possible. So you can imagine, like, at a university, at a hospital, they can only have 12 slots. They really need to fill 12 doctors. Like, they can't just have like 10 and a half and then like have two people leave because they don't like it there. They they really want you to like end up in a place that you want to stay.
Right. Makes
Similarly
sense.
to the, like, the human match. And the way it works is that there's two halves, right? So there's like the hospitals that need doctors, and then like the doctors that need hospitals, or
Mhm.
like, group A of people who are willing to propose, and then group B who are like the proposees, like
Ease.
proposing, yeah, the prosees.
Uh-huh.
So there's two groups, right? So group, proposer and proposee, and actually really matters, those two groups. Like, one is the proposed, like, which group is the proposer and which group is the proposee. Actually, one group gets a leg up.
Mhm.
So anyway, okay, so in this concept, every person, like, so every hospital, every man, every woman, every combination of whoever that's a proposer, and every group of humans that are proposees will make a list of the opposite group, and like rank them by like their most, like, they want that person the most, or they want that hospital the most, and then go from like their favorite to their least favorite. And they don't actually have to rank all of them, they just need to rank a good amount of them. And I don't
Mhm.
actually, like, I didn't look in the paper deeply, we can look in here.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
the idea of this is that actually, this should work in really large numbers as well. Like, there's like unlimited amount of size that this algorithm could work. So both sides
Mhm.
rank, everyone ranks each other. So then when you run the algorithm, each one of the proposers is first going to go on the first person or hospital on their list. They'll be like, I want to, rank one, like all the school, like, this school or that guy. And they send a proposal to the proposees. Then the proposees are gonna, like, some proposees are gonna get like 12 proposals, because they're
Proposals.
like they're
Uh-huh.
really popular, and so the really popular ones can just like go through all the proposals and just like pick the top one. And then some will not get any, and some will only get a couple. And so
Mhm.
they will just pick the one that they get that is highest on their list that they had made before. So then that's like a tentative match. And then all the ones that are below, like not the top match, they will reject those proposals and send it back to all the people, send it back to the
Mhm.
proposers. Then the
Mhm.
proposers are going to go to the second person or second hospital on their list, and then it's going to send it to the second list, and it just keeps making these iterations until there's tentative matches. And so the proposees will basically, if they get a proposal from someone that's higher on their list, they will basically like break the current match they have, the tentative match, and then send that person back to
To
the
the
keep
pool.
searching
Yeah.
pile, back to the pool, and then they'll take the higher, so they can trade up. And so the
Right.
idea is that the proposees will always trade up if they get a proposal that's better than the proposal that they currently have. And then like this keeps running it over and over again until everyone is matched. And
Mhm.
in this way, you end up with stable matches.
And
And
so
there's like really, yeah.
is one of the assumptions of this that kind of like the proposees have their lists written down before the matching starts? Like kind of like it does it break if I like it change my mind about what
Mhm.
people I like partway through it?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it means that you need to be very truthful. Like, there, you can't really game the system. You need to be really truthful about the ranking. Like, if you
Yeah.
truly like this person the most, or you really like this hospital the most, you really put that as the top, and then you really rank it in the order that you
Yeah.
um like the most.
And I think
So
that it's also interesting because it kind of assumes that you have all
a
the like
rank,
it's a
you can
yeah and it
assumes you
assumes you
can
have
rank
all the
everyone in
information
order.
like yeah
Yeah.
I feel like in like that works for like medical schools, but I feel like with dating like because like part of dating is like getting to know the person, right? So I feel like a lot of the time in dating it's like you meet someone and you go out with them a while and they're just like, wait, this person is awful, like I don't know why I liked them. Like,
Well, the other thing, like, that's complicated with dating, so unlike like
mhm,
hospitals and doctors that need to be matched with the hospitals, um the date, like when you're dating, you can be both a proposer and a proposee. And
mhm,
and because of the way this works, like if you look at the mathematical proof, this stable match system favors the proposer, because the
Hmm.
proposer
Mhm.
will result in the best possible match that they could make, whereas the
Mhm.
proposee will get the worst possible match. Like in effect, like by definition, they will get the worst possible match they can possibly get, and still, do you know what I mean? Like that is what it's optimized for. And back in the, like before the 90s, like hospitals would be the proposers, and basically it was just like everyone was unhappy but everyone was stable but everyone was sad, and so they quickly learned to switch the other way around, so now it actually favors the doctors. So like the doctors get are the proposers now, like which direction you run the algorithm, like which group you put as the proposing side.
I'm
But
a little
okay.
bit confused by that though, because like so because the definition of it being a stable match is that like no one has someone else that they would prefer to be with.
No,
What is
so
the
one
worst
group,
case?
one group, so like the proposer group can't go any higher,
Hmm.
but the proposees basically they like no one will want them because they're
I
lower than
see.
someone
Yeah.
else's on someone else's list. So they actually go, so yeah, basically favors whichever group is the proposer group.
Okay, that
And
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and like, you know, historically when they, you know, did this proof, they obviously the proposer is the males. And so like I'm
Hmm.
trying to like work against the system by being like proposer and proposee. Um but yeah, so it always favors the proposer, which so in real life dating situations, you can be both, right? Like you don't have to always be the proposer and you don't always have to be the proposee. But like mathematically, if you just run this algorithm, you think this is the way it rolls, it technically being the proposer gives you a slight edge because you will more likely hit the you're more likely gonna get, like mathematically get like your best possible match. Does that kind of make sense?
Hmm. Makes
Um,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, they mathematically show that it is possible to use an algorithm to find stable matches. Because like no one else can trade up, and then those because they can't trade up because like everyone that's higher than them already rejected them before. And like that's literally the proof, like the mathematic proof. I was just like, this is
Wow.
great.
Yeah,
There's no
that makes
numbers.
sense. Yeah.
And they went down the list, and not only that is it it also assigns every single proposer their best possible match. So like while there is another configuration where you can have a stable match, in this configuration where all the proposers are proposers and all the proposees are proposees, this is the actual possible match. um like that's kind of cool. Like it's kind of cool that you actually could even find a system where it is, you know, stable. And we'll drop a couple links. Like I watched this video like a long time ago, like in high school, and I was
Hmm.
just like,
Oh
I'll be
wow.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It came out in hold on, let me put it in the chat. um so here's some like proofs from number files, and they
Yeah.
do my description of the Gale Shapley thing like way better.
Oh, that's
Like,
in the private chat, but I'll put it in the regular one.
oh, okay. Oops, my bad. But yeah, it has like, you know, pictures and everything. They have like graphics and a actual math professor that teaches you how it works. No,
Nice.
but
Yeah.
but so this is kind of cool because I was talking to Nate about how I wanted to talk about this, like, you know, relationship matching thing, and I was like, is there a dating app that uses this? And he was just like, yeah, I think that's how Hinge works. And I was like, is this how Hinge works before, or like the concept of it, is it still being used? Are there other algorithms that are
Yeah.
being
And
used?
like
And then
I
he was like,
think
it's
no one's entirely sure. So I think so Ruby was asking me about that, and like I read a little bit about this before just because I was curious because I'm on Hinge, and it's really weird. It gives you like people that it recommends, and I was always like, how is it choosing these people to recommend? Um and they claim that they're using the scale Shapley algorithm. I guess one thing that I find a little bit odd about that is like the way I've always understood it, it's like that you um Is Ruby opening a Hinge account? Again, I feel like Jason would find that disconcerting.
My partner would find that
um,
disconcerting. But this is just like
I
the,
guess
you
you
know,
could for research if you want to if you want to experience the Gale Shapley algorithm, I guess.
yeah. I want to be the
Um,
Yentl of the town and be the algorithm. The power.
but yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I think they claim that they use it. I guess the part of it that I find a little bit strange is like I always thought that like for that algorithm to work, like everyone had to rate each other person.
they
Um,
don't have to rate all the people, right? They just need to make their list of their preferences. But if
I
you
see.
don't rate as many, then there is like if there's a mismatch. So this also, I guess, there needs to be equal numbers of proposers and proposees. So we should actually let's look up this paper and be like, what are the
And be like,
limits
what are
of
the
this
limits
algorithm?
of the
Yeah. I mean, okay, I guess one thing that I was a little bit curious about was like also like if someone is bisexual, is there a version that works for that?
Oh yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, so
this doesn't
this
work if
doesn't
you
work.
are flexibly switching between groups, and I think that actually is one of the limits, like
Right?
as
Because it's like
like written. Yeah.
because like on Hinge, for example, like you can like you can say like what genders of people do you want to be shown, and interestingly, you can also choose to be shown. You can say like okay, I'm open to dating people and like with these genders, but like I don't necessarily want to see them in my feed. And so I feel like it's like
Guys,
Guys,
it's still Pride Month. Like I'm gonna get so much hate
wait for what? For
for
bi
bi
erasure?
erasure.
But it's like the bi erasure was being done by Gail and Shapley, like not by you. Like they're the one doing the bi erasure in this like scenario that they wrote about.
I am asking the internet if it could work. So you can imagine. So they, when they demonstrate this proof, they usually use like a matrix. I can imagine if you had a third dimension, like a Z dimension that was in addition. Do you know what I mean? Like you could theoretically in. I mean, it doesn't even need to be in like normal Euclidean space. It could. You could
Right,
have
yeah.
you can have more than two dimensions. You can have like four
Yeah.
dimensions. You have more dimensions than the typical X and Y. I mean, that's probably why it's like proprietary. They probably hired a mathematician to like see like what kind of subspaces are shared by like different profiles.
else.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like there could be some multi-dimensional like generalization of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the thing that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this Scale Shapley thing is like I was like, why don't they use this at speed dating? Because I feel like that would be the like at speed dating events, which I don't know if you've ever been to one, but like or if people listening to the stream have been to one, but it's like you oh yeah, the TS and E plot of relationship, which actually we're gonna talk about. So I was reading some papers that actually do have TS and E
Like
plots of relationships.
just like
Other than
clustering.
yeah, other than they made the plots like heart shaped, which is kind of cute. But
Oh.
um, um, but yeah, I was gonna say like in speed dating, it's like literally you go around the room, you like to people of your preferred gender for like 5 minutes each, and then each person writes down like, oh, would you want to go on a date with this person on their piece of paper? And it's like the interesting thing about speed dating is like basically at the end they just tell you all the people that you matched with. But it would be interesting. You could use this algorithm if you had people of ranked people, which I guess maybe they don't want to do. You could actually be like not just like, oh, we gave you these matches, but like this is your optimal match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reading
I'm reading.
stuff on the internet right now, and I think mathematically, if you add like other things like same sex or bisexual or like people that like people in larger pairings than two, like all of this breaks down. Like this only
I
works
see.
in like a like two group proposer proposee
Okay,
scenario.
so it's a very heteronormative algorithm, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
or organ and human match or hospital doctor match. Like it needs to be like two
Yeah.
things. It can't be like they're
Uh-huh.
also matching with so it also this breaks down when they do couples matching. So like when
Hmm,
they're like
mhm.
two people need to end up in a specific place and
You
that is
have
higher
two
ranked.
sets of
Like
preferences.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the two body problem, like that actually does change the algorithm and
Okay.
it could result in unmatched people and unmatched hospitals,
That
which kind
makes
of
sense.
sucks.
I wonder if anyone's made like a poly version. Like I imagine like that would be a mathematically interesting problem, right?
Yeah, like a possible
Yeah.
stable match. See, this is all assuming that we can rank another person by like a profile picture. Do you know what I mean? In
Yeah,
like
that's
a way that
okay. And that's
that is
yeah.
the big problem with this is that um it's really difficult if you don't have enough information. Like the example they give is like the like the little town with like the town matchmaker. Like they know everyone in the town. They can be like, oh yeah, that person's really athletic. They'll like, do you know what I mean? Like they can like generally kind of rank people or like know how people rank and make sense of this. But like if you don't know your neighbors, you don't know squat about anyone besides a photo and like what they choose to show you on an app. Like you don't have all the information, you can't make reasonable ranking. So if you also don't rank well, this like the algorithm works as well as you can rank another person.
Like yeah, like I feel like that's the other part of this is that you're trying to like you need to know, okay, what are people's preferences? And I think interesting, like on Hinge, you don't even give a preference. Like it's like for each person you say like, yes, I like them or no, I don't like them.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess like the
so
equivalent would be like all these hospitals had different names, but like you didn't know what state or country, like you didn't know where they were.
mhm,
Like imagine if you had to rank a bunch of hospitals and you had no idea where they were in the like
yeah. I mean,
geographically.
I guess I was saying like to do this kind of matching, like if you want to do any kind of like Gale Shapley type thing, like you need a preference list. You need to know like, oh, okay, of the people that I saw today, this is the one I like the most. But most dating apps don't have that information. They only have binaries like, did you like this person's profile picture or did you not? And
Yeah.
I suspect a lot of what a lot of them are doing is trying to like compute other features based on like the patterns in who you like. So I'm guessing kind of like under the hood, probably what it's doing is it's learning like what statistical features are associated with the people that you like, and then trying to basically just like machine learning try to predict who's going to be the most compatible.
I was gonna be a little bit more cynical and say I think they just steal all your data from your other websites and your web activity for other reasons and add it
Yeah, I mean, probably that
to make it
too.
more accurate. Um Yeah, that's the scary part. Like dating apps, like I guess like I just missed the dating app
Uh-huh.
situation. Like I never had to go on one. Um, but like they will take your Facebook. They'll take anything that's not private on the internet. They will take your personal website. They will take any photos that you have posted. Like they'll take your GPS location of the photos that you take and that you share on
Yep.
the internet.
Uh-huh.
Um, like that all goes into account, right? And so
Which,
you
like,
can
part of me is kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool because I think if you're doing this with good faith, you could actually use a lot of that information to match people in ways that you couldn't otherwise. The problem is, like, there's all these, like, I don't trust these companies that much. And in fact, kind of like I saw one person who was talking about like people think that dating apps are matchmaking apps, but they're really gambling apps. And that kind of their goal is to get you to keep paying money and giving like intermittent reward in the like form of people that you like just enough to like keep you using the app.
like
Um,
they on purpose don't give you like a stable match possibility because if you have
Right.
a stable
Yeah.
match, you'll leave the app not needed
Exactly.
anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they
I
lose
mean,
their
like
money.
it's yeah. Yeah. Um, like I mean, on Hinge, you actually have to pay more money to see the people it thinks are like the very most compatible with you, and then like the ones that you get for free are the people who thinks they're like kind of compatible with you. Um,
Remind me says we already have
we
gambling
already
apps.
have
Why?
gambling apps. Yeah.
Um,
Like, why do
well,
we? Yeah.
you have to look at their motivations, right? Like their motivation is to
Yeah.
make money, and
The other part of this is like so about 90% of dating apps are actually owned by the same company. Um, so there really is like only like two dating apps. So there is Bumble and everything else. Um, and I think the
wait,
fact that they're
Bumble owns everything.
no Bumble like so Match Group owns everything, and then Bumble
Ah,
is the only other dating app company that has a significant market share.
oh,
Um, so like Tinder, Hinge, Match.com, OkCupid, a bunch of weird, like specific, like religious and ethnic ones are all owned by this company called Match Group, which basically just like bought all these other companies as they became popular.
oh. I feel like shouldn't isn't there like oligopoly? Like, isn't that a monopoly? Like
Like, should
oligopoly?
the
Like,
FCC do something or FTC
yeah,
do something? Or
yeah.
yeah, I think I yeah, I think so.
Like big,
Like I
big
think it would
dating.
be I
They
think
should
you
come
would
and
get a
bust
lot
big
more
dating.
genuine like I feel like you would get a lot more genuine innovation in this space if they did.
Yeah. Um. Well, no, I think the problem is that they had genuine innovative space. They just got bought out by Match. Was it Match Group?
Match Group?
Yeah, because they're like, there's a clever thing, and then they're like, let's either buy out this competition or buy them and use their algorithm, right?
Yeah, you could. I think they're very expensive at this point because they like own all the online dating apps.
Got
But
it. It's probably hard to start up a dating
yeah,
app now.
I think it is because like everyone uses Tinder and Hinge, and it's like you want to use the ones that like people are already on, so there's a big network effect like with Facebook.
Got it.
Yeah, but I wanted
So,
to go back to the thing. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna ask, like, how is Bumble distinguishing themselves from the rest of the Match Group styled dating app?
I think they started up at the time that all of these are independent companies and they just kind of refused to sell it.
Ah,
The other interesting like thing that they have had was that when they launched, they had this like feature that only women could send the first messages, and that was specifically because like a lot of these have these really actually kind of strange gender disparities where it's like okay, most of them have messages, the first messages are sent by men, and there's also a lot of like sexual harassment, and so they were like okay, what if we just design a platform that's designed to for that to not happen. And it worked pretty
oh,
well. Like it was a good decision, I think.
wait, this kind of like matches like the theory of the Gail Shapley proposal. So like if the
Like so, if you're
traditional apps,
forcing the women to be the
the
proposers,
proposer, they will end up with their best possible match, whereas the if they were mostly relegated to like the societal norms of being the proposees, they will get the worst possible match. Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
think
like
it
it
does.
makes
Yeah,
them it gives them a like a leg up. So this is like almost like opposite sides of the coin where you switch to which group is the proposer and proposee, and like that's this app. Okay, cool.
yeah.
It,
And I think like I think the main reason it worked is just because it forced people out of kind of traditional gender roles, and I think that actually like worked better because patriarchy kind of sucks. But that's their market niche.
I can see why
But
they refuse to
yeah,
sell though. Like this
right.
would really ruin it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like but yeah, so the other thing I kind of wanted to go back to is like so you were talking about this thing about like judging people from like the photos and the difficulty of that. And I think that was actually related to something that I was looking at. And it's also related to JD Vance. And so
I did not
for
expect our dating stream to bring up our vice president.
I
But
did
okay,
not
continue.
fucking either expect that, but like he gave a speech a while ago where he was like, you know what a big problem for America is? Dating apps. And I was just like, wait, what? But okay, and I unfortunately get exposed to this all the time. It ties into this basically this like online incel slash red pill idea that basically dating apps are bad because they enable women to be too selective, and therefore you have this like situation where basically like all of the women are only dating the like top 10% of the men, and because of that it's causing all these like societal problems and opioid overdoses, and also no one is having children. Like if you for some reason if you go on TikTok and you're like a man my age, you just see so many people talking about this, and it's like it's everywhere, it's like really widely accepted. And that is actually the thing that JD Vance was referencing, this idea that kind of by enabling women to have more choices in partners, dating apps are creating this kind of social downfall or whatever. And it's like it's obviously very creepy, because it's like the only like the implication is the only way to like have our society is sex slavery, which like at which point like maybe we should just not. But anyway, but the interesting thing and the part about the science of it is that when people talk about this, everyone is like, oh yeah, all the women are going for the top 10% of men. And they all reference this blog post that was done by OkCupid, which is one of the first dating websites out there. And they posted some things about their data. And it's really interesting because I think everyone is actually getting it wrong. Like so I was like looking at this and I was like, huh, this is like I was like, okay, where are people getting this information? um and it
Like
comes
people
back
like
to this
JD
blog
Vance.
post that has since been taken down, um but people archived it. Let me just show it here. um So this was the OkCupid thing. It came out in 2009. It's called Your Luck's in There and Your Inbox. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to look at how like how your rated attractiveness influenced how many messages you get on OkCupid. Um, and so this is the graph that is kind of that if you look up anything about online dating, everyone is referencing these two graphs, which is like so basically you show men pictures of the women on this site and you ask them to rate their attractiveness out of 5, and you get this kind of bell-shaped distribution. Um, but if you ask the women to rate people out of 5, what you see is you see this very skewed distribution, which is basically so kind of the majority of the men on this site were rated as like the least attractive, which
Wait,
is
and
so
then
we're
the
looking
blue
at this
the
dashed line, um, and so essentially what the people like what people take away from this site is that they say like, wow, okay, so women rate 90% of men as unattractive, and they're only interested in this like 10% of men who are like the very most attractive. And that's kind of the basis of the argument. And when you look at like what people are citing, it's basically always this blog post actually. um
Wait, so they're
and
not reading the blue line correctly because the blue
right,
line here
exactly, yeah,
is actually the instance of female messaging males, right? In which case it
right.
actually aligns like females are like they're below medium. They're messaging the peak of this curve is below medium. They're messaging
Yeah,
men that they rated
right. So
least
like this
attractive.
is this is the part of this study that like no one talks about, which I think I found was bizarre because like to me this is like the thing that stands out the most is that um like if you these are just ratings of the attractiveness of photos. And but then you can also look at, okay, when people are sending the messages. So what you actually see is that this effect is true for the men. So basically, so the men are sending almost no messages to the women that they rated as least attractive, which actually does seem to be like basically they like because they have this bell curve, it seems like it's the least attractive ones on this scale and the least attractive ones that they rated kind of line up. But like the men actually are only messaging the women who are they rated as the most attractive.
Yeah.
And the women's messaging activity actually pretty much kind of tracks the bell curve shaped like attractiveness distribution, except it's actually skewed a little bit towards the less attractive men.
So they
And
basically
so
don't care what
it's
they
kind of
look
the
like.
complete opposite of what everyone says that this shows.
Well, the problem is that it was interpreted probably by men, and they just
Oh, sorry,
assume.
say that again. My audio is being a little bit weird.
No, I was gonna say that the men basically assumed women would act the same way they would when they saw the
Yeah,
woman rate them. Then they're like, "Well, they think us ugly. They're not gonna reach out to us," and they didn't actually look at the data, which says the women don't care, and they'll actually
exactly.
even more message you if you're ugly.
Right, yeah. It's interesting. So everyone is focusing on this liking activity, but no one is looking at like the actual messaging, which is like when I think about, okay, when people are actually trying to enter a romantic relationship, like that's probably a better proxy. Like it's not, we don't like if you want to argue with JD Vance, you don't really care about like perceptions of attractiveness. You care about like, okay, who are people actually dating? And it seems like the distribution of like who you're hitting up and who you're actually going on with dates and marrying, like that is really what you should care about. And that is so I will actually say like it's kind of bizarre. So they also did this other graph on it. Let me show it here. So this is just the number of messages received versus how attractive you're rated. Um, and this is a relative thing, so it's relative to an average person. And so what you see is that the line for the amount of attention that you get for men is actually quite flat, both compared to women and also in absolute terms. So you can also, this is when you are sending messages. So you see that the most attractive mail senders, like they get a response like about twice as much as the least attractive senders, but like even the least attractive senders are still getting a response quite a bit of the time. Like this is actually not a huge difference, especially compared to the difference between the women, where like the most attractive women are getting a response that's like more than 5 times more than the least attractive women.
This makes it this makes it sound like it's actually good to be a unattractive male.
Yeah,
It's
I
like a
mean
good
it's
place.
yeah.
Dating apps is a reasonable place to be, like according to these numbers.
Great. And if you, I'll share this in the chat too. And if the interesting thing is that it seems to be that actually the sort of the optimal place is to be a somewhat attractive male, but not an extremely attractive male.
Yeah.
Um, and they said they're not quite sure why that happens, but it they suspected like, okay, it could be like sort of a self-esteem thing, or it could be like that people are just like, okay, they assume those really attractive people are scammers.
I was
um
gonna say, I think it's like an uncanny
yeah,
effect where the ones that are like
uncanny
overly,
valley.
yeah, they're like overly produced and they look like too good to be true. Then they're like,
Yeah,
that's a catfish, and so like
yeah, yeah,
they get uncanny
yeah.
valleyed. Whereas they're like, okay, they're a little uggo on the photos, they just don't know how to take photos. They're
Exactly,
probably
it's like
real.
they're just like no way scammers could produce a photo this mediocre. Uh,
This must be a real person that actually is lonely and wants to make a connection. Also, Rivavi says that the woman's curve might actually be a bell curve again if the women were allowed to rank in the negative. So it's just a shifted curve. Like women
yeah,
just
yeah,
find men uggo and rank them lower than men do. Like
yeah,
off the
and
scale of 1 to 5 or whatever the scale is.
right. But then they behave actually not like that. Like
Yeah.
so and like I was looking at like so basically so some other dating sites have also kind of looked at that. All the sites are actually very cagey about these statistics because they consider them kind of trade secrets. But like you occasionally see like engineers writing blog posts and so you can kind of put it together. And what you generally see is that like it's basically the same sort of effect. So it seems like for very early rankings, you do see maybe kind of this tendency for the women to find like the majority of the men like not attractive. But when you actually, it seems like actually in all these interactions, basically the more effort it requires, the more that trend reverses to the point where when you're talking about like who's actually trying to like hit up who, there's a much bigger bonus to being attractive for the women than there is for the men who have like a pretty flat attractiveness effect. Anyway, it's crazy to me that like there's like thousands of people like talking about this, and it's like taken as like this the clearly true thing, and then you look at it, and I'm just like, am I wrong? Like is everyone like just like not looking at the second line on this graph?
Yeah, the full blotted. Well, I'm surprised if like that many people really looked at the axes at all.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they just probably echoing like what they're hearing.
I
And
mean, yeah, these are like people who like listen to Andrew Tate. Like they are very stupid. But like I was still like surprised by like how much the stupid spread. Um,
I also wonder how. So like we talk kind of like we just kind of grouped men and women. I wonder what happens when you look at like bisexual people and also like same sex
mhm.
attraction, like people who are like homosexuals. Like how does this all break down when you
Like
just
the curves
yeah,
of
like
yeah,
how
that
does
would
like
be
the
interesting.
entire
Yeah.
curve, the queer curve look like? Is it does it look like a version where you just you combined it all the data like here
Yeah,
into one full
and
curve?
interestingly, yeah, looking at this, I'm actually when they did these ratings, actually, think that they, I don't think they necessarily filtered for people who are heterosexual. So, like, these attractiveness ratings could also be including people who are like bi or gay or other things too.
Oh, so they're in there already.
I'm not sure. They don't say. And like, this is not a peer-reviewed study. Like, I feel like if it was, then they would, that, like, the reviewers would make them say that. But,
Isn't it weird that there isn't that much papers about this? Like this
uh-huh.
very human thing. Like I'm just doing a quick PubMed.
Like you're thinking specifically with LGBTQ people or
No, 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 just like dating
uh
apps like maths and algorithms.
yeah, yeah. I think it is. I think honestly one idea that I've wanted to do for a while is like get a grant from like the CDC and like try and make a better dating app and just like because it's fun like the pitch to the CDC is like okay we're gonna like see if we can match people and like reduce rates of like domestic violence and teen pregnancy and kind of all these things that you want to like optimize like for healthy relationships essentially. And so get a grant to do that and then be funded by this kind of public health motivation and then just see like how like what is the best way to do this in a very public and rigorous way. um,
Okay, I actually I'm just looking at like
uh-huh,
papers. There's actually a lot of papers. Like
uh-huh.
it's actually I mean, I don't know if it's super well funded studying it, but they are publishing a lot of papers.
On dating apps or
Yeah, here I'm just looking at a user review analysis of dating apps based on text mining. This was in PLOS One.
yeah. I mean, I think what's interesting about them is like that data is there, but it's often like it's like looking like they don't have access to the data that these companies do because that's considered.
Yeah.
And so it's like lot of looking at like people's experiences with the apps and kind of looking at the outside, but they don't have the really interesting stuff that these companies have access to.
Wow, yeah, like they don't have like oh, they're
So that's what
applying
I would
kind
love to
of
do
cool
in my
stuff to
career.
it though.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I agree. I think it is a really fascinating area that I think should be looked into more,
Okay,
because it affects so much about people.
I was gonna say there has to be data scientists that work at every one of these dating apps, and data scientists are nerds. They will post on
They,
Reddit, right? Like they'll be like,
they
what a
try.
fascinating trend, right?
So when I was trying to figure out what was going on with this attractiveness data, so all this data comes from two posts that were made by data scientists. There's this one from OkCupid, there's this one from Hinge, and there's this one from like a random Tinder user that's kind of questionable. And both of the ones that came from the companies, they published it on their blog and then they took it down because I think they realized it made them seem bad.
And they're
I
probably
think these
like lawyered up now, and they've probably signed like
right.
non-disclosures to like keep
Like
their jobs.
honestly, like yeah. I mean, like if you read that OK Cupid post and like you're a woman and you consider yourself to be like average attractiveness, or you're a man and you like don't understand statistics, like you're like gonna read that post and be like, okay, this seems like it kind of sucks. Maybe I'll not do this. So I can see why it's like detrimental to the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, And so I think that's the kind of crazy part, is that like there's probably all this data about it, and it seems like it is always being kept on a really short leash by these dating app companies. Like everyone is being kept on a short leash.
Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like sometimes they're like there actual are laws, right? Like when you think
Mhm.
about okay, so I talked about the Gail Shapley thing, but like UNOS is not publishing their algorithm. Do you know what I mean? They're not telling you
What is
how
what
they
is
rank.
Eunice? Is that the
Like
organ thing?
yeah, this is the organ donation. So this is the equivalent of matching humans with organs that they need. Like they kind of publish it. They tell you like the general guidelines, but the actual numbers and the weights for each number, like age, like how healthy they are, how sick they are, their blood pressure, like every single part of their chart is like a data point that they use to like calculate your rank score and rank you against everyone that needs a lung, right? Like and
Mhm.
like if you're the right size, weight, everything, and then the lung comes in and the lung is like it's a big lung, so it needs to go into a big person, and like blood type, whatever, match, like all those things need to match. But there's obvious things like blood, like matching stuff. But like when you're ranking people that need the organ, so usually there's not enough
Mhm.
organs for the people. Like what they don't publish exactly who, like what those like rankings are, right? Like you kind of know, and like
Right.
there's actually lawsuits about this because like for example, in different like racial minorities, they'll be like, hey, this is high blood pressure for them, but like in another group it's not, and then they get 2 points for that and they get 4 points for that. Or like having a high pain score if you're you know African American could
Right. Yeah.
score
Like
you lower, and it's like someone else can give you a pain score of like 1 to 10, how painful is that, and you'll be like, that was a 2. That will give you a different score if you are a person that was a person of color versus like a white person. And I was like, wait, these are all going into the scoring system that
yeah.
that determines if you get an organ or not. Like, wait, hold up. Like it's
So
very
they like
yeah.
they want to keep it kind of like not public because it makes them look bad
Yeah,
if
well,
people can look at
no,
it.
so the thing is like the people that build the algorithms, like the biases of the people that build the algorithms are also built into the system. So it's like an organ credit score. Yeah, it's like actually it's like our credit score. Like we don't exactly know.
Yeah.
It's like you got a new credit card and your and then your like credit score goes down, but then you use it for a while and then it goes up. But like if you don't use it enough and you use it just the right amount, but only if you make this much income, then it goes up. And I'm just like this makes no sense.
FICO, but
Um
the O stands for Oregon.
Ribeye is so on today.
Yeah. I also like these are very MySpace era pics. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and it's like, and it's interesting. Like I think like in the context of like dating apps too. I mean, I think it's like also what are you trying to optimize for? There's been a lot of controversy with them too, in that it's like kind of are they trying to pair people of similar attractiveness? Like that's one thing that kind of like people have suggested that they use as a heuristic for a long time, and people really don't like that. On the other hand, another study I was reading, so we actually know that that is one of the better predictors of relationship success, is that if both of the people consider themselves about the same level of attractiveness. So it's not necessarily terrible, but it is weird when like other people are making that choice for you.
Wait, so they're saying that like if I think I'm like medium ugly and my partner thinks that they're medium ugly, that's a better match than if I thought I was beautiful and they thought they were ugly. like
Yeah.
like
So
having a similar answer to be like rate yourself from ugly to like beautiful and you pick the similar score, you would be
yeah,
more better matched.
and I think specifically, like, so it comes from this Shackelford and Bus study, and what they said is when partners feel as though they are well matched, they experience a greater sense of security in their relationship. So it really, I think, has to do with how do you perceive your attractiveness relative to your partner? Do you
So
feel like you're about the same attractiveness, or do you feel
I was
like
gonna say
one
so
of
it's
you is more
almost
attractive
like
than
a
them?
self-esteem match and right? And it's a stable match. Like
Hmm.
if they
Yeah,
perceive it as a
yeah,
stable match and their self-esteem matches, then it like is more likely to be satisfactory.
yeah, yeah. I think the stable match especially is interesting because kind of that is kind of how they think what they think is going on. It's like, okay, if you are confident that your partner is your best option and you're also confident that they think that you are their best option, you're gonna have a good relationship. And if one of those is not true, you're gonna have less security in your
Um,
relationship, according
that's
to
so
this.
much nicer than the Gail
Um,
Shapley relationship version where one party gets like their best possible choice and the other one is like that's the best you could have done. You can't do better. um and it's stable because there's nowhere for you to go. That would be no, there's nowhere for you to go because no one would take you. That's better, or no one that will take you because everyone else is already taken. I don't know why I'm laughing. This is a sad thing.
yeah, it's
I
yeah. I mean, okay, but I think.
oh,
Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say a Shackleford and Bus is more positive. Like it's a
Yeah, yeah,
lighter,
yeah.
like a more positive note to end on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if this implies that people are doing not exactly the Gale Shapley algorithm, but it does imply there's kind of an optimization algorithm going on. If you assume that people are more likely to leave a relationship they don't feel secure in, then basically everyone is kind of trying to optimize for a partner that's about as attractive. Like that's kind of how things are gonna shake out, right? It's like, okay, you are in any relationship and you either feel like if you're in a relationship and you feel like you quickly feel like, oh, I could do better, or you feel really insecure and you're like, why is this person going for me, you're gonna leave, or one of you is gonna leave. And so kind of like the eventually over time you're kind of optimizing for people being the same.
Yeah, I could see
Like,
that.
yeah,
Um,
you're going to kind of converge on that at a
yeah,
population
and I
level.
could also see why it's difficult to date if you're on the edges of any. any bell curve, socioeconomic bell curve, like
Mhm.
education bell curve. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're on the edges and fringes of any version of this, it's harder because you essentially you have a smaller pool of people to do the like matching. Whereas if you're just like in
Right.
the center of the
Yeah.
bell curve, you have a lot more options.
Although I do find it weird that like people living in New York City and like people living in these tiny towns basically have the same problems dating. Like it's not like people have a much easier time dating in like these huge cities, which I think like in some cases they do. Like if you're like the one queer person in this like homophobic town, like that really sucks. But like in many cases it's not this dramatic effect.
Oh, you're saying like the one
Which is
queer person in like rural
interesting.
nowhere versus the one queer person in like New York
Right. It's
City
like,
have the
yeah,
same
I mean,
probability.
clearly like there are cases where like it is better to be a queer person in San Francisco than it is to be like a queer person in like this town of 300 people in Nebraska, because like in the later case, like there's a good chance you're the only out queer person there, and then it's just like that's kind of the extreme of the dating pool limitation, right?
That's true. Like, it's really
Um,
difficult to use maths or any of these like modeling systems to model the real world because there's so many variations.
yeah. But what I was saying is it's interesting that that seems to only really happen in these extreme
Yeah.
cases. Like, it's interesting that like, okay, if you go from a town, like the people in a town of 10,000 people are not significantly more single than people in a town of 17 million people.
Oh, okay. I know what you mean. Like
And
medium
it
big
kind of
and medium
suggests,
small could have basically they're
right.
experiencing the same numbers game.
Right. It's like in theory, if your criteria are static, your chances of like finding the correct partner in like New York should be like 10 times your chances of finding a good partner in Davis. And like that's but that's not actually what we see. If you look at like the population of people at a certain age who are
I wonder
single.
if it's the limitation of how many people you have the energy to message at all, right? Like, just because you
Yeah.
live in a place that has a higher population of people who are single, it doesn't mean you have like 10 times as much energy to like constantly
Right.
be
Uh-huh.
messaging. Like a regular person with a normal human job probably only has this many hours a day to like use for leisure and like to figure out their dating lives. And like that there's only so many people you can message in that time reasonably. And if you
Right.
like it doesn't matter. And like at some point, like even a small middle-sized town, like you'll hit that number like
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
amount of time. So their options aren't not that better unless they like
Yeah.
don't sleep or something.
Yeah. And interestingly, I think a part of like how people do that, this would be an interesting study to do actually, would be to see like, do people adjust to their preferences and their standards? Like um like kind of do people kind of regulate the amount of energy like by just having stricter criteria?
Okay, I was gonna say, like, in college, this is probably not very PC, but in college, people talked about having like a lens in that specific college. And
Having a lens?
kind of like rose-colored glasses, but for
I
humans.
see. Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
like you were in college and you were stuck in this like place by yourself with those people. And they're like, well,
Uh-huh.
if you were not stuck in school with these people for like 24 hours a day and like living in dorms together, like
Mhm.
you wouldn't date those people. Like you have
Right.
like special glasses for like a specific amount of time where like people were just more attractive because those were the humans that were
The
available.
people around you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And part
I
of it
would
is that
believe
like
it.
yeah, like this is how I feel about whenever people are like, "Oh, you have like what's that called? Like a soulmate. Like you have one soulmate
Mhm.
in the world." And I was like, that would be really bad. That's a really terrible
Yeah.
design if we only had one soulmate. But like maybe one soulmate in like geographically located near you with the same like in the proximate population of this many people that
Right.
share social circles with you. I'm like, sure, okay,
You're
that
like,
that
okay, sure.
seems
Yeah,
reasonable. Yeah.
that's the part that I've never understood about that thing is also like, okay, why is the number of soulmates you have constant regardless of the population? Because people have been talking about this since like the 1800s, but then does that mean I have like 16 soulmates now? Or like why is it fixed at one?
There's one in every city, Nate. You just need to pick it.
Yeah, like
Remember VCs, there's more shared experience. Oh yeah, this is the rose-colored glasses thing. Yeah, there are
yeah.
more shared experiences during that time.
Soulmate
Um,
polycule. Yeah, do all the soulmates like hook up? Is it like they like because if they're all my soulmate, then like presumably they should all be soulmates with each other too. Like,
oh, I never thought about it that
right?
way.
I feel like
Like
that's how that
the
should
number of
work.
soulmates determines the size of your polycule.
I mean, I guess poly people would say that that is literally true. Like people who have like fully connected polycules would say that that is literally like
Yeah,
maybe that's you're just like, yeah, there's a lot of people, so I have a lot of soulmates. Like,
that makes so much sense actually. maybe
yeah.
maybe that's
I mean
what
it it makes more sense than saying you have exactly one regardless of like how many people there are in the world. That
Oh,
makes no
yeah.
sense.
This brings us
Like,
back to that conversation we had when we were
yeah.
camping last weekend. You said that like um the like you were saying like what was it like a unit like a single male female unit was really capitalistic because this was a way where you could like
Oh yeah.
pass money
Yeah,
down to
family
your
unit.
known,
Yeah.
yeah, family
And-
union, like a marriage of a single male and a single female was really capitalistic because it allowed you to like pass down your money to like people you knew were
yeah.
related to you.
Mhm.
And that wasn't as big of a deal. And I think about that too in this context, right? Like if you didn't know, like, and then it just becomes like a children problem. Like, are you procreating in your polycule? Like,
Right.
it doesn't,
Mhm.
like, the money part doesn't work anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it doesn't work at anymore with capitalism where you need to like know exactly how much money each person has. It
Yeah.
does like if you have kind of a generally like communal society, it still works okay because you're just like, okay, there's people, they all need food. Like, let's make sure we have enough food. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
Women know exactly who they birthed, but the men
yeah,
don't
but the men
really
don't
know.
testing. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it is kind of true. Like historic, I think that's what their obsession of like policing women is partially because
Yeah.
they really want to know that they're passing on their genes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of social kind of analysis that's been done of this, and I mean, it's kind of exactly what we were talking about. So basically, nuclear families are highly linked to capitalism, and the reason kind of that these societies started developing all these like restrictions on women's sexuality and relationships and like places you could go and things you could do is because it was the only way they had to kind of like do family tracing basically.
Yeah, like
um
hereditary things. Like they're like women can't go out in the dark by themselves because they might get,
I saw,
and then that child might not be mine anymore. Like,
I saw another one of these like stupid TikTokers was like, oh yeah, for women their value is in virginity and for men their value is in sexual experience, like nature intended. And I'm just like, no, like virginity is not evolutionarily selected for like that. Like that is entirely because of this kind of
the
you know
patriarchy
Right. And because
and
of like,
capitalism.
oh, am I giving my money to someone who shouldn't have my money because they're not actually my child? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wild.
okay, that ending was like less
That was a
happy
little
than we
that was
were
a little
going.
depressing. No, but
But
okay, how
okay,
about I was gonna say
I actually have a happy ending
okay,
if you
go, you
want.
can go.
Yeah. Um, so to contradict JD Vance about the effects of dating apps, I was just going to mention one of the things that we have found that they do is that they have dramatically increased the amount of interracial marriages and marriages between people from different socioeconomic groups. This seems to be a pretty robust effect, is that they have made people like have more diverse marriages, essentially.
Oh, that's kind of nice. Um,
Oh, should I
I just
post this YouTube video?
yeah, I thought that was a nice way to end it too. Maybe a little spicy. Um, it's a video essay about
Oh, conservatives
um
are bad. Um,
yeah, by this YouTuber who analyzes like the source of all like just like shitty things Republicans do just to just their bad bedroom relations.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way. Don't
I
take
feel like
advice from just don't take advice from JD Vance or like these idiots who are like virginity is selected for like or virginity like yeah just
no,
they're
it just
dumb like
it gives you
and
a little
will
satisfaction to know that they have really shit sex lives. Like
yeah
every time this- I'm like really like pissed and I was like there's nothing I can do and I was like well at least they don't got that going for
they're
them.
just like okay at least they're having really bad sex. Maybe that's why they're so like angry and like mean.
Yeah, pretty
Like
much.
maybe they're all just like incredibly sexually frustrated with their
Yep.
patriarchy sex. Yeah.
like people, the women are like, oh, we don't really want that, and then they're like sad and upset about it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
This is a great I like this better as a theory for like why all the problems of society than JD Vance is like
well, like this is when there was this like theory going around about how marriages, like old school marriages, were like DEI for men, and I was sat there and I was like, ouch, but also,
oof,
is it
yeah.
not wrong?
Yeah.
Like back in the day when you couldn't open a bank account as a woman, you would need you would just need some random dude
To like
and
sponsor you.
to
Yeah. So
sponsor
women
your
would be like, okay, I guess I gotta get a dude.
yeah. Like, is that
Yeah.
not very much like
Mhm.
giving yourself
Yeah.
like it's kind of like DEI. They're like,
Right.
well,
It is like, okay, yeah, you can't have a female partner. Like you have to prefer, yeah,
yeah, or like a
like a
proponent
roommate or a
for
friend or yourself or like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, or of
Yeah.
lavender marriages and whatever. In that era, that's what they had. That was the entire society, right? Like
Hmm.
hopefully we hopefully we moved away from that and we all agree it's better now.
Hmm.
Anyway, I thought we ended really nice. Let's end here before we
Yeah,
like
that
make
was
it
good.
depressing and
Okay.
sad.
Yeah, sounds good.